It's no surprise that Disney has a habit of updating and redoing classic films from their back catalog. Whether the end result is good or not remains to be seen. However, we're going to pop some Benadryl and do our best not to swear as we try to tell you that 1997's That Darn Cat is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies and a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Now, every now and then, my lovely wife Carrie and I like to go out and do some fun things, and we got to do that recently by going up to the Muskoka Beer Spa. But the cool thing about that place is that there are VHS tapes in every single cabin that you can rent there. And when we went up there, we're like, oh, let's take a look at the VHS tapes. Let's see what's here. And lo and behold, one movie kind of stood out from the rest. I'm like, there is no way that doesn't qualify just based on the title alone. That film is That Darn Cat. And here to talk about That Darn Cat with me is my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
I'm good, DC. How you doing?
You have to think that DC stands for Darn Cat.
Oh, it must.
It absolutely has to. So when we were looking at the vast array of VHS tapes in this cabin in the woods, and you saw That Darn Cat, what was it that drew you to this?
I was intrigued. I had never seen it, never heard of it. It had Christina Ricci and Michael McKinnon. How bad could it be?
That's usually what starts us going down a very, very long rabbit hole of unfairly maligned movies.
Now, to be fair, and the point that you missed in the introduction is that we actually stayed twice.
Yes.
The first time didn't get around to seeing That Darn Cat because we got caught up watching, I think it was Paramount Plus, because we couldn't get it at home. So we're like,
ooh, what's on here?
Ooh, new adventures.
Right.
So we actually had to go back and book the same cabin to make sure that we got the same array of VHS tapes.
Now, let the record show we got the same cabin because we love that cabin, not specifically for That Darn Cat.
It was all about That Darn Cat.
Okay, maybe for you. So maybe you have this like morbid curiosity to watch old school VHS tapes that look mildly intriguing but definitely qualify for the show.
Let's be honest, it's the Lakeview.
Oh, it's definitely the Lakeview. It is absolutely the Lakeview.
So here's the thing. We have stayed in two different cabins at the beer spa. We need to stay in each one of the cabins to see what other treasures are out there.
See, here's what we need to do. No, more to the point. Here's what the Muskoka Beer Spa needs to do. They need to bring us up, and we'll bring our gear. We'll bring our microphones. We'll bring our audio board. We'll bring everything, and we will happily record shows at the beer spa in each cabin. We'll say which cabin we're in and talk about some of the movies that are in there. The Muskoka Beer Spa needs to bring us.
But we won't bring our own beer.
No.
We buy it there. It's so good, by the way.
There's the deal. There's the deal. You bring us up, we'll buy lots of beer, but we'll still record a bunch of shows up there.
That would be fantastic.
I like this working week vacation. I like it.
As the night goes or as the week goes on, we'll get more and more belligerent and
we usually start belligerent anyways, but everything's just sound like this.
But not on this one because there's no swearing.
There's no well, we're going to do our best. Darn is not a swear word. Darn is okay. But before we go down this road and down whatever drunken hole we're probably going to end up in, it is time to take 1997's That Darn Cat and trailerize it.
In the town of Edgefield, Massachusetts, an evil roams the night. A creature that cares nothing for the human race, taunts lower life forms, and is the root of all chaos that bubbles at the surface waiting to boil over. That hideous creature of the night is a cat. And like most cats, this one cares not whose life it ruins. what wild goose chases it leads people on, and what danger it puts its owner in. Now, Christina Ricci must put her life into the paws of this nightlife nightmare and follow it into the seedy underbelly of the sleepy town. Will she and FBI agent Zeke Kelso be able to survive in this picturesque wasteland of kidnapping, violence, sabotage, and late-night dancing in rooms of meat? Yes, rooms of meat. Disney presents a film for the whole family? That Darn Cat. Rated PG. For pussy galore. What? There's lots of cats in this film. Get your mind out of the gutter.
I don't know whether to laugh or be afraid. Be very afraid.
Be very, very, very afraid.
You literally trailerized it like the Scrooged promo.
Death, destruction, and the end of all mankind. Just in time for the holiday season.
Woo! It's really not scary.
No, it is actually a good family film. Now, we actually sat down afterwards when we got home and watched this with our boys, and the boys actually really enjoyed it. Like it is a decent family film. So don't let my trailerized ramblings scare or frighten you.
It scared me, and I saw the movie.
Hello, Pantheon Podcast listeners. Christian Swain here to tell you more about my experience with Raycon earbuds. Our family now has 3 pairs of Raycon earbuds around the house, and my wife just grabbed a pair of the Headphone Pros to replace some headphones from a company that was double the price. And yes, she loves them. Now, if you haven't pulled the trigger on a pair of Raycons, or even if you have, but you're in the market for another pair because they're just that good, well, now is the time to check them out, because they just launched their upgraded model of the best-selling everyday earbuds. With Raycon's upgraded everyday earbuds, now you also get active noise cancellation, ergonomic design, and multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at once. New quick charge function, 3 customizable sound styles, plus awareness mode. Available in a variety of vibrant new colors to complement any and all skin tones. I even have a pair of earbuds in a cool green color. I have tried just about every earbud known to humankind, and these Raycons are fantastic. Seriously, if you've been wanting to check out Raycons, there truly is no better time. You're going to ask yourself why you didn't check them out sooner, and Raycon offers a 30-day happiness guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Go to buyraycon.com/Pantheon today to get 20% off your Raycon order, plus free shipping. That's right, you'll get 20% off and free shipping at buyraycon.com/Pantheon. buyraycon.com/Pantheon.
All right, let's get into who is in this film. The movie stars Christina Ricci, Doug E. Doug, Bess Armstrong, Michael McKean, George Zunza, Dean Jones, Diane Cannon, John Ratzenberger, and Megan Cavanaugh. By the way, if I messed up any names, remember, I'm the guy who went to a cabin twice to go watch That Darn Cat, so you put your life in your own hands if you trust me. However, there is an also starring in this film. In the role of Zeke Kelso, as played by Dougie Doug, it was turned down by Eddie Murphy.
I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why he turned it down, but keep in mind that it wasn't long until he would end up doing The Adventures of Pluto Nash, and we know how that went. So maybe That Darn Cat wouldn't have been that much of a stretch. The film was directed by Bob Spires, who also directed Spice World, and this is where I'm going to sit here and watch my lovely wife Carrie's reaction. 6 episodes of Fawlty Towers, and yes, that means this is the director of The Kipper and the Corpse.
Aww, I love that.
For the record, that
Really?
episode of Fawlty Towers is Carrie's absolute favorite episode of the entire Fawlty Towers run. Like, when it's on, guaranteed you're going to hear guffaws of laughter to the point of you're going to wonder if she needs oxygen before the 30 minutes are over.
And usually I do.
Yeah.
But now that you say that, I wonder if it was the same cat. Because they had a gray Persian cat in not the Caper and the Corpse, but they had the one where the health inspector orders the liver, I think, liver and onions.
I don't think the cat would have lived to make to 1997.
But they use rat poisoning on they had rat poisoning on the floor because they wanted to get the rats out of the kitchen because the health inspector was there. And so they used the cat to chase the rat, but the cat started eating the meat that fell on the floor. And then it was like, well, is this one poisoned? Anyway, needless to say, Faulty Towers, I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. I can't remember the name of that episode, though.
Neither can
the one
I.
with the cat. But anyway, the cat looks familiar.
I don't think that cat made it all the way to 1997. Cats do have a lifespan, unless this is like some kind of zombie cat.
Well, what year would
Faulty Towers
have been?
Well, think about it. Even at the earliest, let's say, because I'm not quite sure exactly what year, but even if it came out in 1980, that's still 17 years. I don't think the cat's going to make it to that darn cat. So,
well, it was a great lookalike.
Yeah. The film was actually originally done in 1965, also by Disney, and was based on the book Undercover Cat. Should be noted that Dean Jones, who played Mr. Flint, the guy whose maid was kidnapped in this version, actually played the role of Zeke Kelso in the original 1965. So it's kind of cool. You have an original cast member from the original film reprising a new role in the new one.
Why can't it be the same cat? They have 9 lives.
Okay, that's 1965. You are talking now 32 years later. That is one geriatric ass cat right there. You ever want to see a cat in a walker? Probably that would happen. Meow.
Well, this cat was pretty agile, so.
I mean, that cat needs to have more lives than Doctor Who at this point. The cat has regenerated. Maybe there's 2 now. By generation. It can happen. Thank you, Shudigatwa. There were some accolades for this film. At the 1998 Kids' Choice Awards, Christina Ricci was nominated for Fave Movie Actress. She lost to Alicia Silverstone for Batman and Robin, and I can't believe Batman and Robin won anything good, because it's not. And at the 19th Young Artist Awards, she was nominated for Best Performance in a Feature Film Leading Young Actress, lost to Mara Wilson for A Simple Wish. I looked, and I could not find a budget for this film. However, it did have a worldwide gross of $18 million. When it debuted on the February 14th President's Day long weekend, it debuted at number 6, according to BoxOfficeMojo.com, with $6.4 million. The number 1 film that weekend in its 3rd week was Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Yes, I'm talking about the 1997 re-release of it. So a re-release in its 3rd week made $21 million, over 3 times what that darn cat made. The highest grossing debut was Absolute Power, which was at number 2 at $16.7 million. Fools Russian also debuted at $9.7 million at number 5. But the reason why we are here, and not because we had to go to a cabin twice to watch this film. Of course, it was also on Disney Plus, so we could have watched it anyways at home, but we only discovered it on VHS in a cabin in the woods in Muskoka.
There's something about being there and
in
watching.
The moment? Oh, hell yeah!
Watching VHS with the upcoming previews.
Oh, and we watched every preview because the batteries in the remote control were dead, so I couldn't fast forward. But no, we watched every preview, and it was fascinating because I forgot. And if I remember correctly, I think there was one of those FBI warnings on there too. It's like, piracy is illegal. What? Yeah, those are fun to watch. But no, the reason why we are here are the critics. Over at Metacritic, this film has a Metascore of 36. And over at Rotten Tomatoes, it has an audience score of 24% and a tomatometer of 13.
Harsh.
Very harsh. Like, I fully recognize that there are some genres that critics just aren't going to get behind no matter what. And family friendly should have probably been direct to DVD kind of fare like this is really on that list of things that critics are going to poo-poo on no matter what. But I have a feeling that we're going to agree that this is a much better film than 13%. But let's get to the breakdown. Christina Ricci playing Patty Randall. How was she for you?
Oh, she was so enjoyable to watch. Like, was this her first movie? Because she did really, really well. She held her own, playing against adults and very much in an adult situation. Like, she's uncovering evidence to a kidnapping, and she needs to reach out and basically share her theories, right? Her conspiracy theory with the FBI and try to get them on board. And I mean, that's got to be tough for a teenage girl to, she's taken on a lot on her shoulders. And, did she not need to go to school at any point? Because it seemed that, she started out in class, and then, I don't know, took a week off or something to solve a mystery. It was intriguing. Maybe it was over a weekend.
Yeah, this was not her first film. Her first film was in 1990. That was Mermaids. Between then and That Darn Cat, she was also in The Addams Family, Addams Family Values, Cemetery Club, Casper, Now and Then. So she had already been an established actress by this point. The one thing that I noticed here is that it was hard for me to disassociate her role as Patty with her role as Wednesday Addams, because we're not that far off from her playing Wednesday Addams in The Addams Family, because the fact that Patty is a bit of a... No, I'm going to backtrack on that, because she's not a sullen teenager. She's not a moody, gothy kind of teenager. She's definitely not as up as her mom is. There's a fascinating dynamic between Patty and her mother, and how Patty's trying to goad her into swearing, and she's kind of like, she doesn't like small town life. She wants to move to Boston. She hates where she lives, but she's not gothy and...
It's interesting. As the movie goes on, it's almost like you see that switch, you see that growth, and she starts to wear more colorful clothing and just seems to age very quickly, especially when she's in connection with the FBI team.
Yeah. I mean, the thing here is that she makes a point of not coming across as gloomy and moody. Like, she's, for lack of a better term, and probably the best way to describe the character of Patty Randall, she's bored. She's bored, and she hasn't found her gem yet. She hasn't found, the only thing that she's connecting to is her cat, DC. And that's the only thing she finds joy in this small town until things start to pick up. Like, she doesn't like the idea of, organizing cat shows and doing the typical small town, 1950s, 60s style, Pleasantville, Americana kind of thing. Like, that's not her. She wants excitement. She wants something that's basically not her mother.
But you know what I thought was lovely is the scene where she and the butcher are waiting outside of the train station. Mm-hmm. And she seems just so mature for her age. And she has this conversation about love and basically she has that wonderful turn for the lady in the butcher shop.
For Lou, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is the fact that Patty isn't as doom and gloom, gothy, moody kind of thing. She's relatable. She absolutely is relatable and fits well in a family-friendly film. Like, had she played it as a Kirkland brand Wednesday Addams, then I think it would have done worse, because all you would have been able to do was see Wednesday Addams, in small town Americana, and that's not what this film needed by any stretch of the imagination. Doug E. Doug, who played Agent Zeke Kelso. I'm going to push this one over to you. I'm going to let you start on this one.
He was so much fun.
Was he?
Oh my God. He was so much fun.
See, I got issue with this.
Oh no.
So, not horribly so. It's just that he's playing this almost over the top. Like, we know it's a family film. There's no question it's a family film. It's a Disney film. It's a remake of a 1965 one. And it's almost like he's overplaying it for that family-friendly, goofy kind of thing. And I don't know. I never watched the original, and I never read the Undercover Cat book that this was based on. So I don't know if Zeke Kelso is supposed to be as inept as he's made out to be. Because the thing here is that, yes, Patty is trying to put two and two together, not always right and sometimes way off. Zeke doesn't seem like he could investigate his way out of a wet paper bag at times.
But I think that was important to the character because of his lineage, because he's always trying to live up and follow his father's footsteps. And I think the fact that he is a bit bumbly and kind of just, I don't know, bumbling through through cases, it definitely added some humor. I think, if he had played it like straight cop, very serious by the book, it wouldn't have been near as enjoyable. And I really don't think, I think you needed that silliness, because very much like Christina Ricci's character was the one driving the bus. Like, she was the one solving the mystery.
Well, if she was the one driving, they wouldn't have hit as many things as they did when in the car chase. But the thing with Zeke is that I was fine with the bumbling aspect of it. I was fine with the earnestness and wanting to follow in his father's footsteps. That's all good. And those parts of Zeke's character I got behind. It was the overtopness and the just ineptitude of Zeke, in that had he just been earnest but bumbling and maybe a little unlucky, then Zeke is a sympathetic character, and you want Patty to help, solve the case along with Zeke, so Zeke gets his redemption. Here, I'm just like, oh, good, she dragged Idiot Boy all the way through the case, and somehow he's rewarded for it.
No, but you know what? I think the whole think like a cat scene and the fact that he was allergic to the cat really helped. Like, it just made it, again, think of like family friendly, or think of what the kids want to watch. And I looked over at our oldest, who was literally like stifling a guffaw when, during that pivotal scene. So I think it was totally enjoyable to watch, though. He made it enjoyable to watch.
I mean, he was definitely funny in moments, but there were times, and the whole, I know you chuckled at the think like a cat thing. That pulled me out of it. Like, I was fine with a little bit of it, but he was about 2 minutes away from like finding a litter box and, kicking dirt around.
See, that was the moment that got me, because at first, where he's introduced and he was trying to take evidence
from a different room,
in a completely different room than the kidnapping took place. And just, I was like, who is this idiot boy?
Yeah.
And that's how did he get his job?
This is before we found out that his dad was part of the Bureau too. And he's like, walking up behind Diane Cannon's character. It's like, I'm watching you. And it's like, dude, you're an idiot. You're a freaking idiot. I don't want you anywhere near any kind of crime scene.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, I think it needed that comedy, that redemption arc, the whole think like a cat scene, because really at first you're like, okay, who handed this guy his job? Because he's just
His dad did.
so incredibly
Clearly.
incredibly inept. And you see kind of the dynamic of how the other FBI agents mistreat him and how he's running to get coffee for his boss. And he's clearly not respected. So the fact that he was the one that solved the case, I kind of love that. I can get behind that.
Bess Armstrong, who played Judy Randall, Patty's mother. Your thoughts on her?
Oh, I kept wanting to see her like just snap and start cursing.
Which is probably what you would do in the situation.
Which I'm actually surprised that she didn't do to Patty's father at one point.
See,
she was mad.
But that would have broken her character very much in the same way that, you didn't like to see Zeke just be an idiot right off the bat and you kind of grew to like him through the film. I think if Judy had lost it on anyone, it would have taken away from everything else that had already been built up to this point. Like, Judy is supposed to be like the antithesis to what Patty wants to be, even though Patty's starting to kind of fall down that road and Judy's starting to kind of come towards Patty as well. So there is that. I do love like the chemistry between mother and daughter. I think Bess Armstrong and Christina Ricci really played off each other really well. Like, it felt like that good-natured teasing and ribbing that a close mother and daughter would do. Like, that part came across well.
I agree with that. I mean, she was definitely in charge of the household.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
I mean, the other thing too, and you have to remember, like, this was a 1965 film originally. So Judy kind of feels like she would have been one of those sitcom moms from that era. And that translates into 1997 very well. The other thing too, I think Judy's persona in this helps almost exemplify the nature of the town, right? Judy fits in well. Peter fits in well. Patty's having problems finding her footing. So for Judy to kind of mimic what the town is like, that parallels well. Michael McKean, who plays Peter Randall, Judy's husband, and of course, Patty's father, the legendary Michael McKean. How was he?
You know what? He was great, but my God, man, grow a set. Really?
See, here's the thing. I like the fact that Peter was always on Patty's side. The two of them almost had this little secret wink and kind of like, yeah, we're on the same team, even though, mom over here is, trying to drive the bus. Don't worry. I'm the cool dad. It's all good. Right. Like, and you see that sometimes in, parent-kid relationships where it's like one kid leans toward one parent, the other kid leans towards the other parent. Sometimes it switches every now and then, but there's always one parent who's in favor with the kid, right? It switches from time to time. I'm sure there's going to be times when Patty leans on Judy, but at this point in their, familial relationship, Peter and Patty are on the same team while Judy is just running the show in her own happy 1950s, 60s sitcom kind of way. I'm sorry. I can't look at Michael McKean though and not picture him in Spinal Tap. I'm just like, sing Stonehenge! Stonehenge! No.
Well, I mean, here's what I don't get about the mom, right? Because, I mean, she's like hosting this cat show, and yet she seems to detest DC.
Well, DC is a special kind of cat at this point. Like, DC, if you've ever wondered why people say that cats couldn't give a damn about the human race and they will go over anyone and through anyone to do whatever the hell they want, DC is that kind of cat. DC is his own cat. He's got his own show to run, and everyone else is just along for DC's ride. Yeah. You say Judy drives the bus? No.
It's DC.
DC drives the bus, right? George Zunza as Captain Betcher, Zeke's boss. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, he was mean and really unwelcoming.
I think he was the perfect kind of family movie, not baddie, but definitely the kind of character who's supposed to be, almost like the nemesis to one of the heroes of the film. Like it is. It's a very family friendly version. Like if you take a look at the first Batman film, like the Michael Keaton, Tim Burton one, and you take a look at not Jim Gordon, but Lieutenant Eckhart, as played by William Hootkins. Like he was gruff and like pretty much probably on the take. Like he was the bad cop in relation to Jim Gordon. Here in this film, you have Botcher and he's definitely the bad cop, quote unquote, in relation to Zeke. And he needed to be that. And you needed to have someone who was able to do that in a family friendly manner. Not bumbling, not crude, not rude, dismissive. Yes, absolutely. But needed to be.
I think it was unfair, though, that he allowed the bullying amongst his team.
Yeah, but he was the lead bully against Zeke. Like,
well, I know, but that's the thing. That's not acceptable. Like, if he's the boss, and he should lead by a better example.
The thing is, Betcher knows, Kelso's dad knew him, right? So probably looks at Zeke and says, "You're not your dad. You're not the 24-hour man." So, I think in the setting of the film and the way, the audience that it's playing to, I think he played it mean enough and didn't trip over the line.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Megan Kavanaugh, who played Lou the Butcher, you had mentioned her earlier, who in the dead of night gets all dolled up and dances around her room of carved meat, which when you say it like that is creepy as hell.
It was a bit creepy, actually.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I need to get this out on Front Street right now, okay? She is Exhibit A, why this town is so weird, okay? I understand, secretly wanting to get dressed up and practice your dance moves and all that. And I can even get, behind the fact that she makes carvings out of meat because she's a butcher. I get it. That's her palette. That's her paint. That's her craft. But if you're so secretive about your secret wild side, the wild side that wants to get out, what the hell are you doing dancing in a store with a whole bunch of windows facing out on the street? Like, I get it's a sleepy town, but I guarantee you someone at some point has walked by the butcher shop, looked inside going, what the f*** is going on in there?
Hey, it's good for sales, I guess.
Also, I swore. I'm sorry. Promise broken. I make no apologies. But I mean, she was fun in this. I'll give her that. But what were your thoughts on Lou?
Well, I was really stuck on, she's one of those actresses that I'm like, oh, I've seen you somewhere before. But I could not, I spent the whole movie trying to place her, and I can't quite figure it out. Is it something with, I want to say like Drew Barrymore. Was she in like Never Been Kissed, or she kind of played like the ugly duckling character?
Yeah. You're not far off.
Rough Night?
No. Think A League of Their Own. She played Marla Hooch.
Okay.
Yeah, but she was also Broomhilda in Robin Hood Men in Tights. She was in Junior. She was in Dracula Dead and Loving It, which, yes, we've done an episode on Dracula Dead and Loving It. Go back and listen to that one. But she's been in a ton of other things as well. Done a lot of voice work as well. But yeah, no, she's been in quite a few things. But the one you're probably thinking of is either A League of Their Own or Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that, because I'm like, I can't place her, but I'm pretty sure I've seen her in something. No, you know what? I think, why not? Right? Like, she's in a sleepy town. She's madly in love with someone who has never noticed her. Never.
Well, let's be honest. He never notices many things.
Well, which is frightening, considering he's supposed to be a officer of the law and
neighborhood watch,
perceptive,
on patrol.
But you know what? Like, again, I kind of see her as, like the high school girl that kind of never been kissed, right? Like,
yeah. So that's probably where you're getting your Drew Barrymore reference. You have this never been kissed, feel about the character. So you're probably putting two and two together.
Possibly.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mind Megan Cavanaugh on this. I think she did really, really well as Lou and really helped to characterize the characters in the town. But let's talk about this now, because this is actually the perfect time to jump on this. There are a lot of side plots and a lot of little B plots here and there, little subplots and little characters. Like, there's a lot going on in this story. And I felt at times, not so much in Lou, but I felt that all of these little subplots were detracting from the main story. It's like they were trying to get too much crazy in. So when you get to, the big climax of the film, everything can blow up all at once. But I found it kind of cluttering the A plot along the way until you got to that point.
I agree with you. I actually felt that about, the wealthy couple who
had no money.
Well, the sight unseen wealthy couple, that I really found, obviously you never want to hear of anybody getting kidnapped, but it's hard to feel bad for them.
Yeah. Because we didn't really get to know them. Like, they were there, and, Dean Jones as Mr. Flint is, a little on the, kind of rude side. Like, where's that milk? My ulcer's acting up. And Diane Cannon, which, for the record, I cannot look at Diane Cannon and not think Caddyshack 2. But here's the thing. This is actually the third Diane Cannon film we have talked about on this show. The first being Caddyshack 2. The second being 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag. Because, of course, she was the mom who was completely out there. And, they try to keep the alcohol away from her. Same girl, same kind of character. So Diane Cannon pretty much seems to have, in movies that qualify, one character that she's playing.
Yeah, totally typecast. And it's interesting because, again, one of those actresses that I'm like, I know her. Have I seen this before?
Yes, because you had to watch 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag for this show.
But again, the exact same character.
Yeah.
It at least add a little something, give us something to like you. Because she was just so incredibly unlikable. And that trampoline scene, is it bad that I secretly wanted to see her fall off or break her ankle or something?
I was looking around for the cocaine in the scene, because she's like, I'm going to look for every single wrinkle and line in my face. Oh, no line. It's just a hair. It's all good. Get to the trampoline. Bouncing time. She's on crack at this point.
Whoo.
He needs a warm milk and she needs a freaking bender at this point. She needs a methadone clinic.
Let's be honest. I think the maid just wanted an out. She faked her own kidnapping.
I was about to say, I think she got kidnapped for her own good. This might have been a staged thing. I don't know.
I think so.
Estelle Parsons, who played old Lady McCracken. This is the girl that couldn't leave her apartment and just started crank calling everyone. Again, this is one of those little side things where I'm like, okay, I get it. You personify the town, but you're taking away from the A plot.
Oh, she was adorable though. And I was just waiting for the cat to eat her bird.
This is a family film.
Is it bad? I'm like, that cat is going to totally, like Sylvester and Tweety, he's going to like grab the bird when she's not watching or she's on the phone.
This is a family film that we're watching with our kids. You're like, eat the goddamn bird.
Eat the bird.
Eat the bird and then carve a sculpting out of the whatever his meat is left off the corpse.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay, maybe the bird flies away.
I'm starting to question if you know what a family movie is. like the Manson family, maybe? The family from the Devil's Rejects in House of a Thousand Corpses?
Oh, come on. She leaves the bird cage on the windowsill. You had to expect that, the cat was going to knock it over.
I mean, it is kind of a Granny
set
and
Tweety free.
I was going to say, it is kind of a Granny and Tweety kind of relationship between the two, but clearly you're in for some weird carnivorous kind of family film that I'm starting to question if you should ever be allowed to pick the movie ever again. Ooh. Dear listeners, do not come over if my wife invites you over for family movie night. It's going to be something like The Green Inferno or something with cannibal. Like, come over for family movie night. We're watching Cannibal Holocaust. Yay!
Devil's Rejects.
Oh, God. Whew.
Ha.
John Ratzenberger and Mark Christopher Lawrence, who played Dusty and Rollo, the warring mechanics who, yeah. I'm going to leave this one for you.
You know what? You talk about side plots, and as much as I'm like, were they necessary characters? They were enjoyable. Was it necessary? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't know, just their constant bickering, and then at the end they make amends. It was an enjoyable side plot.
I'm trying to wonder how many pictures of Bob Iger John Ratzenberger has, because not only is his voice in every single, or at least seemingly every single Pixar film, then he shows up in this one. Like, John Ratzenberger is making bank off Disney, so I'm wondering who he's got the pictures of. Because Cliff Clavin...
But he's Cliff.
It is Cliff Clavin, yes. You're right. This is one of those plots where, it was funny at the time, and it's a little over the top. But again, it's taking away from the A plot. Like, at this point, we're on the D plot of this film, and it's like, do we really need to keep coming back to these guys?
Yeah, and again, I'm trying to think back, because I'm like, the mom kind of getting distracted thanks to the cat and wrecking her car. The other car.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much, but it's like the ice cream mobile, if you will. Was that at all necessary? I think they could have done away with that.
Yeah, I mean, the A plot of this story, I think, is good enough as it is. I'm fine with the B plot of Lou and Melvin, one of the security guys, because we get that moment between Patty and Lou at the train station. I think that B plot works well because Lou kind of helps Patty see that there are good things in the town, but Patty has to be the one to convince Lou to stay. And in doing so, she kind of opens her own eyes. So that B plot, I'm completely fine with. But it's these little plots that set up. It's like making sure you have two people walking a big pane of glass across the road, because that car chase is going to happen, and that pane of glass or that cart of like watermelons, it's going to get smashed. You just need to set it up first. But I found it detracted from the eight. Like, we didn't need the two of them firing paintballs at each other just so that people had something to drive through. Like, and I love John Ratzenberger. I think he's great. Anytime Cliff Clavin shows up on screen, I'm a happy camper. but it wasn't needed in this film. There's a lot of manic crazy that happens, and, is it really necessary?
Maybe, though, it was to show the different characters of the town.
Oh.
Just to give the town a bit more...
Cray-cray?
I was thinking personality.
The town has... There's a dancing meat carving woman in her window at night. You don't need much more. And you got some old lady crank calling people from from her apartment that she never leaves. And then you got Melvin and Marvin Yasbo, as played by Tom Wilson and Brian Haley, the town patrolman. Again, I don't mind this aspect of it. It also goes to show the ineptitude of the local security forces of this town. But how were they for you?
Again, like, if that's your police force, then... Woo.
Then Zeke Kelso looks like freaking Columbo.
Right? The best of the best.
All right. If you have not watched this movie by now, I warn you that what we are about to say is a massive spoiler. So, if you have any desire to go up to Cabin 9 at the Muskoka Beer Spa and watch this on VHS, go do it now. Or, watch it on Disney Plus if you don't go to the Muskokas. It's okay. It's okay. We'll let you go. I know we have listeners around the world. They're not all going to want to go to the beer spa. So you guys can watch it on Disney Plus. But
beer.
And
spa.
Yes.
Like the best of both worlds.
Yes.
It really is a fantastic place.
Oh, yeah.
Do check it out.
Yeah. And to the Muskoka Beer Spa, please bring us back up. We'll bring our equipment. We'll do shows. We're just begging at this point. It's bad now. We're begging.
It was pretty obvious.
Yeah, I am Captain Obvious.
Pretty see-through. You're the guy with the big pane of glass.
I am. I'm just pushing my watermelons across the street, waiting for a car chase. It's bound to happen. Peter Boyle and Rebecca Schull, who played Ma and Pa, the kidnappers.
Oh, you totally just dropped that.
Okay, but I warned people beforehand.
I know.
If I warned them beforehand, then I have no problem dropping the obvious bomb.
You could have said the ice cream shop owners.
I could have.
Could have.
Because then people are like, oh, here's another
Didn't.
side plot. No, these people actually matter. Okay, so Peter Boyle and Rebecca Schull.
Well, Rebecca was adorable.
They both were.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
But
now, what was the reason again? Money? They wanted money? They might want to do their research and see who actually has money.
Yeah.
And figure out, kidnap maybe the right person.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, clearly the Flints kind of put on this aura that they still have money. They're not letting people know that, they lost all their money in, sinking pork bellies or whatever the case may be, like whichever stock is tanking.
Thanks to the butcher who carved up the pork belly to actually look like a pig.
I don't think that was pork belly she was carving.
I don't know.
I mean, she did say she carved something out of Spam, which really, that is the only logical purpose for Spam, is to make meat things out of it. I don't know.
It was creepy.
Do people actually eat Spam?
Ooh, not like that. Could you imagine? I'm just going to make a slight incision here at the snout.
Although, now we know who made Lady Gaga's dress.
Ooh.
Yes. Lou made Lady Gaga's dress, clearly. But I think the cool thing is that Peter Boyle and Rebecca Schull as Ma and Pa, the kidnappers, like, it makes sense in this family movie, right? They're kind of goofy fun, right? And especially during the car chase. And the number of one-liners that get tossed all over the place during the car chase, you don't even need the action. Just listen to the one-liners and you're fine. Like, it culminates in a very fun, for everyone kind of climax. I mean, we've been sitting here complaining about the B plot, C plot, Z plot, and all the other little things that's going on in this film. When you get to the climax and everything goes to crap, that's where the fun happens. And it is. There's a lot of mayhem and chaos, and it's all good.
Here's what I don't get. Their ice cream shop seemed to be doing pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, as far as businesses in this small town, I would dare say that they're probably on the more successful end of things.
Well, see, I think they're a lot like Patty. And you saw that connection with them and Patty earlier on in the film, in that they don't like small town life. You know, they're adventurers. They go around and rob things and rob people and do heists, and you know, they're for lack of a better term, they're hardened criminals who now run an ice cream shop in a small town. Like, you know, once a criminal, always a criminal. So Patty doesn't like her lot in this small town either, but not to that point. So it makes sense that Mom and Pa like Patty and her attitude at the beginning of the film. And then Patty kind of gets in the way, and she can see, you know, like it's an interesting dynamic between the three of them.
Well, I felt like the gentleman was rather rude when he brought his car in. He was like, and don't overcharge me this time. It's like, oh, that was kind of.
But then you like that he gets his comeuppance. You know, that's the thing. Be rude to the nice people in the film. So when you get your comeuppance, the audience cheers.
True.
Right?
True that, yeah.
As I'm watching this film, and I don't know, you know, what I'm about to say is probably the most Canadian thing I've said on this show all day. This reminded me of Sunday at 6:00, sitting down and watching CBC and the wonderful world of Disney and those like made for TV family films, right? That's the vibe I was getting off this. You know, when hell is the bad word that Mom won't speak, right? You know, she's got to say HE double hockey sticks because that's the way it's got to be. Like, this was a family friendly film. Like, even though it's rated PG, it's still family friendly. Like, there's no bad words, there's no blood, there's no cussing, all the quote unquote violence. It's completely goofy. It's chaotic fun. And I think the cool thing is that today there aren't enough movies like this out there where it's just madcap antics in a family friendly way. The fact that the kids sat down and watched the whole film without being paid to, because they're at that age where it's like, do I have to sit down for an hour and a half with my parents? Yeah, you do, kids, but you liked it this time.
We robbed them with popcorn.
Okay, that was good for about 20 minutes. That's about it.
Until it's gone.
Until it's gone. And then they're usually gone. But they stayed this time and they liked it. Which is really cool. Like, this is one of those things where the Disney back catalog works in modernizing it. Like, I don't know if do we need another That Darn Cat? No, we don't. We don't. I think 2 is just fine. You know, everyone in this film did their job and the movie did its job. But there are those kind of Sunday evening, sit down with the family at home, movie nights on public television, and have that family movie night. Like this was a couch night for families. That's what it felt like. We don't get that anymore.
No, because that's the magic of Disney. Like, really, when you think about it, now with Disney Plus, I still find myself questioning, like, is this really a family film? Or, you know, The Simpsons, why is it available now on, I know the reason, but
yeah, exactly.
It's like, this is just not maybe family friendly viewing. But I've been saying that for years. Like, gone are the family ties, the family sitcoms.
Yeah.
You know,
the
like,
must-see TV. Yeah. No, like,
yeah.
There was a time when you'd come home from school and you knew you were going to have, like, Who's the Boss and Growing Pains, and, you know, you had The Cosby Show, you had Different World. Like, Thursday nights were must-sit-down, watch TV with all the sitcoms that were there. And there was a point where, you know, you had your afternoon sitcoms, which kind of leaned on the family dynamics. You know, you had shows like Head of the Class. That was a fun one too. Good with a little bit of morality sprinkled in family sitcoms. And then on Sundays, you had the family movie that was on TV. And you even sat through the commercials because it was that kind of time.
Well, we didn't really have a choice, you know.
Well, no, we didn't. And that's the other thing too. with the amount of films that are on and streaming, a film like this is probably going to go by the wayside. I think us kind of stumbling upon this film thanks to a rando VHS tape in a rando cabin in the woods. Not rando, it was Muskoka Beer Spa. But finding it that way and then discovering that it's on Disney Plus made it that much better. When you have a streaming service like a Disney Plus or a Netflix or a Paramount Plus, which we don't have yet, maybe one day, you never know, or even a Prime Video, there are movies in the back catalog, the ones that don't always show up in the suggested watch kind of thing. Don't just watch the same old thing. Don't just watch what they suggest to you. Don't just lean on the algorithm. Search the genres. Search by title. Look at everything and deep dive. Find something that looks interesting and fun and sit down with your wife, sit down with your kids, sit down with whoever you want to and have family movie night.
And don't forget that darn cat.
Don't forget that darn cat.
Sit down with your darn cat. And dog.
Yeah. Sit down with that darn cat. Let your dog watch it and sit there and go, see, I told you, cats are evil. Look at what it's doing. I know what I speak cat. I know what that cat said.
You know what's great for that, though, is Tubi.
Oh, God,
because
yes.
They have, like, a catalog of older, like, more forgotten movies.
Oh, yeah. And even services like Plex, which are free, or even like Roku TV has some back catalog as well. Like, there are options out there. Or if you have a library card, Hoopla is a phenomenal source for some of those older films. Like, discover them, try them out, and have a movie night. Popcorn optional. It's up to you. All right, Carrie, thank you so much for this. Now, before we go, it is time. Who is your MVP of 1997's That Cat? I mean, that darn cat. Woo!
Did not see that coming. That literally woke me up there. Woo.
Yeah, that would be like if HBO did the remake, it'd be like, That Cat.
Wow.
Yep.
Meow.
We don't censor ourselves during the recording of the show. So the censoring only comes out after the fact. So this is where I get to tell my lovely wife, Carrie, that throughout this entire show, every swear has been a meow, not a beep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's kind of like the cat version of what we did during Strays.
Meow.
Exactly. So who is your MVP of 1997's That Darn Cat?
I'm going with Think Like a Cat. Think Like a Cat.
Doug E. Doug.
Yes.
Ah, he is so not my MVP.
Okay. Who is yours?
My MVP is actually Bess Armstrong, who played Patty's mom.
Really?
Yeah. She was just enjoyable. She understood the assignment perfectly. She was Sunday evening family movie perfect for this film. Christina Ricci was my runner-up for MVP, but Bess Armstrong, and I think it's because the relationship between mother and daughter worked so well for this, and I couldn't stand Zeke. I'm sorry. We have very, very, very opposite picks in this one.
That's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. I would have gone for DC.
Oh, DC understood the assignment. Absolutely. But then again, DC was its, most valuable pussy at that point.
I think DC was just there for the whiskas.
Right? I wonder if DC got paid in whiskas.
Oh, I hope so.
Oh, meow mix, please deliver.
Right?
I want chicken. I want liver. Meow mix, please deliver. I feel like I need to do the dramatic reading of that at some point. All right, Carrie, thank you so much. And to you, our listeners, thank you for listening to us diatribe about a Sunday evening family-friendly 1997's That Darn Cat. Now, you guys know the drill. If there is a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned or it's just lost in a cabin somewhere in the woods and you need to rescue that VHS tape, hit us up on social media at NotThatBadCast or go to our website at notthatbadcast.com. And while you're there, check out our Coming Soon page so you can see which films we're planning on talking about. You can get your chime-ins in, and we'll shout you out in the shows. Until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.